Hello and welcome back to Boring Dad Gaming, where today we're going to be playing some more Tyrion Cuthbert, Attorney of the Arcane. We're going to do new, quote-unquote, new game. We're going to be doing case number 4 here, Severed Ties. Let's dive in. Up until now, we've been following the story of Tyrion Cuthbert. We've experienced the world through his eyes, and fought for justice through his soul. But this time, why don't we start from the perspective of another? Intriguing. Episode 4, Severed Ties. Ruby Tamora. I can't believe Cuthbert read the client's mind without asking. It's starting to become a problem. He's becoming more and more reckless with each passing year. I wish Frey was still alive. She would know what to do. I think Frey was his mum, yeah? She made it look so effortless, and he loved her. Would he have listened to her if she was still here? Beatrice Frege. So Miriam Frege is the other one that we met. I don't know if this is in. No, well, it can't be in the past, can it? Because she was talking. Ruby was talking about Tyrion's. So this may be an older sister of Miriam, possibly, or cousin, or I don't know. Is something the matter, Tamora? No, I was just thinking about something. Well, the trial is about to begin. I don't doubt your abilities, but I'd still appreciate it if you remain focused. All of our futures are at stake after all. Of course, Miss Frege. Occupation freelancer. Okay. Freelance what? I don't know. Beatrice takes in a deep breath before she claps her hands together. What's wrong? Nothing, it's just the ritual that I use to calm myself. Right, I'd almost forgotten about that. But more importantly, what are you doing here? My father sent me to guide Beatrice through the courthouse. It's a new environment for her. We are both worried about her condition. I still can't believe you were the boss's daughter this entire time. Why didn't you say anything at the academy? Oh, knowing my true identity would have caused friction with your son, wouldn't it? He's not my... Anyway, I suppose I understand why you stayed quiet. But I still don't appreciate being kept in the dark about this. Oh, speak of the devil. You spot Cuthbert and McCoy walking into the courtroom with the other members of the gallery. McCoy spots you and gives you a friendly, yet awkward smile. However, Cuthbert ignores you entirely and walks silently into the courtroom. Parental troubles? We had an argument earlier. It's nothing to worry about. If you say so. You are wary about what he saw in Beatrice's mind, though. He's always been a good kid, but his idealistic sense of justice clouds his judgment sometimes. You just hope that he's not planning to do anything reckless. The trial's about to begin. Do you really have the time to be making small talk here? Prosecutor Steelwind approaches the three of you. But she appears to be accompanied by someone else. Nightgrave, is that you? What are you doing here?
Well, he's accompanying me as my aide for this case.
I see, so I assume you'll be prosecuting.
Of course, I'd never pass up the opportunity to face the infamous Ruby Tamora.
Really? If I recall, you haven't even beaten Tyrion once so far.
Miss Steelwind, don't strain yourself. What's that look for, Beatrice? You almost look surprised to see me here.
Considering the circumstances, I thought you might recuse yourself.
I am more than capable of being objective, especially for a case of this much importance.
Well, I hope your mind is as strong as you think it is.
Miss Steelwind, please calm down.
Oh, how I love a good reunion.
Court is now in session for the trial of Beatrice Frege. Miss Steelwind, is the prosecution ready? Miss Steelwind?
Oh, of course. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor.
The defense is also ready, Your Honor. Something seems off about her today. Is her personal attachment to this case distracting her?
Very well, let's begin the proceedings. Prosecutor Steelwind, would you please list the charges?
Your Honor, the defendant is charged with first-degree murder and grand theft. It's As many of you know, Beatrice Frege is the formerly missing daughter of the now late William Frege, and the victim of the murder is William Frege himself.
Yes, well, I'm well aware of that. People of Wivengard will certainly mourn the loss of House Frege's head.
Please, the only people mourning him are the banking house's shareholders.
But anyway, did you also say that the defendant is accused of grand theft?
Yes, Your Honour. The crimes took place during the Lord's Ball, an event that was hosted in Frege Manor yesterday evening. The Haraldson Hall of History had a gallery display within the manor. They were showcasing several magical artifacts donated to the Wivengard Historical Society. One of these items was the Sword of Spell Eating, a magical artifact that allows its wielder to nullify magical effects.
Legends say that it was forged through a blood contract between a mage and a demon.
We, the prosecution, believe that the defendant stole this item. She then used it to nullify the magical lock on the victim's study. After breaking into the study, she attacked the victim and slashed his throat using a letter opener. He died of blood loss shortly after.
Okay. Traces of illusion magic were also found on the body. Scratch marks on the face and back.
Yeah, I see. What possible motive would the defendant have to murder her own father?
William Frege and his daughter were not close. Saying that they had a strained relationship would be an understatement. In fact, 5 years prior to the murder, Beatrice abandoned and fled her home. She went into hiding and did not contact any of her friends or family. Her whereabouts were unknown until she suddenly contacted her father a week ago.
My client left the Frege household because of her toxic relationship with her father. She wanted to create a life for herself that was free from his influence and abuse.
I won't disagree with your claims, but that just highlights how desperate the defendant must have been. She had clearly fallen on hard times and begrudgingly contacted her father for financial aid. I can't possibly understand why they would schedule this meeting during the Lord's Ball. But nevertheless, several witnesses did see her that night. These same witnesses saw her storming out of her father's study in anger. Her father must have refused her request for gold, so she decided to murder him to claim his inheritance.
Luckily, we prepared for this in advance. Yes, they're playing right into our hands.
So this is after she ran away. In retaliation, William told Miriam, which is the one that we met in the Academy episode, that he would remove Beatrice from his will. Oh, sorry, I clicked in a bit sooner than I intended to. I think we got the gist.
What you're saying is all conjecture, Steelwind. You don't have any evidence or testimony that confirms what they spoke about.
Yes, I'm well aware that you and your client have refused to tell us what was discussed during that meeting. But as long as you both stay silent, my claims are plausible.
Be honest, Steelwind. Do you seriously think that my client committed these crimes in spite of her condition?
Condition? What do you mean by that, Mr. Moore?
Why don't you tell him, Steelwind? Tell the court about my client's disability.
Your Honour, Beatrice Frege is considered legally disabled, however...
Legally disabled? That's a convenient way of putting it, Steelwind. My client isn't just legally disabled. She's completely blind.
Completely blind? Is this true?
We have several medical documents and testimony from several surgeons attesting to that fact. My client is unable to see anything.
What is the meaning of this, Miss Steelwind? Do you expect me to believe that a blind woman performed any of the acts you're accusing her of?
I'm glad you also see how ridiculous these claims are, Your Honour.
If the court would just let me elaborate.
Steelwind, the prosecution's first charge is grand theft. My client would have needed to break into a magically secured display case. Performing such an act would be a difficult task for anyone, much less my client. And the second charge is first-degree murder. My client would have needed to use the Sword of Spell Eating on the lock leading to the victim's study. Then she would have needed to grab a letter opener, overpower the victim, and deliver a precise and fatal blow to the victim's neck. Does any of that sound like a reasonable theory, Your Honour?
I'm compelled to agree with you, Mr. Moore. It all sounds quite ludicrous, to be perfectly honest.
Oh, this is just awful. Steelwinds are clearly just attacking the Freges now that their head is deceased.
Objection!
Enough! Your Honour, the court has not seen the evidence that supports this case, nor have you listened to the Inquisition's testimony regarding their investigation. Until you've done so, you're in no position to pass judgment.
Oh, very well, Miss Steelwind. I suppose you have a point.
Guess the young lady has some claws after all. But it doesn't matter, their case against Beatrice is questionable at best. Frankly, it's surprising that Steelwind even went through with this. It's only a matter of time before the judge sees things your way. To begin, the prosecution would like to call Commander Orrin White to the stand. Commander White, please testify to the court about the Inquisition's findings.
Right, we didn't want to cause panic after the sword was stolen, so we activated the Manor's silent security system and put an anti-magic field over the entire manor. We did a search of the house, and we found the stolen sword in the defendant's bedroom. Didn't look like she was going to run, and Crown Prince Asta told us to stand down, so we just kept a close eye on her. William Frager was in a bad mood that night, so he'd already locked himself inside his study. But an hour later, we entered the study and found him lying dead in a pool of blood. The lock was still engaged and no one teleported in. The perp must have temporarily disabled the lock using the sword of spell eating. We have testimonies that say the defendant was seriously in debt. She must have murdered the victim to get a part of his inheritance.
Their case against Beatrice is just as you predicted, and you already have a countermeasure to disprove the existence of any motive. All you have to do is present that to the court. Let's press the statements first. Wait, doesn't the sword make the wielder immune to magical effects? An anti-magic field would have only disempowered everyone except the thief.
Yeah, well, we didn't know what the sword could do until after the investigation. Up until then, we thought it was just a dusty old artifact.
That seems pretty negligent. Are you sure you're qualified for your position, Orrin?
Yeah.
The situation was unprecedented for everyone involved. One could hardly expect an ancient artifact to have magical capabilities. Anyway, what did you do after the theft, Commander? That seems like a strange conclusion to jump to. My client hadn't stepped foot into the Frager mansion in years. After being gone for so long, her bedroom had to have been repurposed for something else.
Well, I'm not sure about the details, but one of the defendant's sisters refused to let the servants disturb that room. I guess she was hoping that her sister would come back one day.
Leif. And why would the prince tell you to stand down, Orrin?
Well...
Crown Prince Ashton knew the defendant well. He was confident that she wasn't going to flee the scene. Are you sure he just knew her well? If I recall correctly, the prince is still very adamant about her innocence.
The Crown Prince is vouching for the defendant? Is this true, Miss Steelwind?
It is. However, I believe that the evidence found throughout the investigation proves the contrary. Are you sure your judgment isn't simply being clouded by your jealousy? Your fiancée was previously engaged to my client, after all.
Huh?
You're enjoying this a bit too much. Carry on. Did anyone see him enter the study?
Well, a few people. One of them was Leif Frager, the victim's second daughter. She said that he was really irritated that night, so he went into his study for some peace and quiet. I guess his meeting with the defendant put him in a bad mood.
But if the manor was covered in an anti-magic field, how did he lock the door magically?
Well, I'm not sure how, but the locks in the manor aren't affected by anti-magic fields.
How? The magical locks generate a smaller anti-magic field around themselves. The two fields cancel each other out. It's like multiplying two negative numbers together. I'm going to be honest, I have no understanding of these things. Is what she's saying true, Beatrice? Yes, overlapping anti-magic fields are a well-studied phenomenon. You'll just have to take her word for it. Carry on. Who was the person that discovered the body?
Well, the same person who saw him last. His daughter, Leif Frager.
Poor Leif. That must have been traumatizing for her. Did anyone else accompany Leif when she happened upon the body?
Well, yeah, supposedly one of the servants got himself locked in a nearby storage closet, and he heard the violent attack through one of the air vents. When he finally got out, he told Leif and they went into the study accompanied by some knights.
This sword is integral to the case against my client, so why is the description of its capabilities so vague?
Well, to be honest, the sword is magic, but it doesn't seem to behave like any spells we know about. We can't identify its magic like we usually do with artificery devices. According to Lord Haraldson, its powers are demonic in nature. But if you ask me, it's all a bunch of hooey. Anyway, it's obvious that it doesn't follow the normal rules of magic.
Wait, what?
What is it, Mr. Moore?
It's nothing.
Cuthbert is watching from the gallery, so he must have heard that too. Could the Eye of Horus have something to do with demons? No, focus on acquitting the client first. You can worry about Cuthbert later. Either way, we've tested the sword's magic on similar locks. When used correctly, it is capable of disabling the lock on Lord Freyga's study. Okay, last one.
You have testimonies. Wouldn't an official record be more valid evidence?
Mr. Moore, you and I both know that your client's creditors are not the type to keep such records.
So you're admitting that you're relying on hearsay?
One could conclude that. But it doesn't matter if we can prove that this debt exists. The Freyga estate is unimaginably vast. Debt or no debt, that amount of wealth would be a tempting boon to any individual.
She has a point. House Freyga owns all of the banking houses in Wivengard. People can only dream of having that much power and wealth. The prosecution's case against Beatrice is already really weak. You're not even sure why they bothered bringing this to trial in the first place. You already have testimony from somebody else that directly contradicts the commander's testimony. Once you present that to the court, this case is as good as yours. Yeah, well, let's have a look what she's got hold of then. There she is, that's Miriam. Is Leif in here? Doesn't seem to be. Alright, let's have a look. So, Sword of Spell Eating. The Sword of Spell Eating is an ancient artifact when wielded by a creature that creature and anything connected to them are immune to all harmful magical effects. Legends say that it was forged through a blood contract. Okay. Died at 3:12 a.m. Cause of death was blood loss after his throat was slashed open. Both carotid arteries were severed, meaning the death must have followed mere seconds after the wound was inflicted. Body shows several scratch marks on the face and back. Traces of illusion magic were also found on the body. Beatrice Freyga fled from her family 5 years ago and went into hiding. In retaliation, William Freyga told Miriam Freyga that he would remove Beatrice from his will. As a result, she wouldn't receive any inheritance after his death. As per your agreement, this testimony will be confirmed by Miriam Freyga in court. Okay, so that's the one we'll use. But we need to do it with the right statement, so it's probably that last one. Oh, what's happening? I'm not sure what happened there. Your Honour, the prosecution's case against my client is riddled with holes, and the prosecution's proposed motive is the largest among them.
What do you mean, Mr. Moore? Of all the elements in this case, the motive is the most believable. Your client would have had much to gain through her father's inheritance.
That may be, but that's assuming my client had anything to inherit at all.
What?
Your Honour, my client fled from her psychologically abusive father 5 years ago. How do you think he would have reacted to that? Lord Freyga was a petty and vindictive man. Do you honestly think that he'd leave his inheritance to someone who disobeyed him so egregiously? No, he'd do everything in his power to make sure she didn't see a shred of his wealth.
Yes, we're already well aware of this. The moment she slams her cane down, you notice the prosecutor wince a little, but she quickly hides it and regains her composure. Undeniable murder, the victim made a decision to disinherit the defendant. However, his murder deprived him of the opportunity to submit his will to his attorney. This only further proves the defendant's motive. She would have needed to act quickly, lest her father submit the changed will.
I'm afraid you're mistaken, Steelwind. William Freyga didn't disinherit my client that night. He disinherited my client 5 years ago. I have witnessed testimony from Miriam Freyga, William's youngest daughter. By her own admission, her father disinherited my client shortly after she fled the household.
What? She never brought that up during questioning.
Perhaps she's not as amicable to you as you thought. If you don't believe me, why don't we call her to the stand and ask her ourselves?
What are you planning, Mr. Moore?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, it's clear we won't get anywhere until we hear from Miriam directly. Bailiff, please escort Miriam Freyga to the stand. Miriam, is the defense correct? Did your father disinherit Beatrice 5 years ago?
Yes.
And you didn't think it was necessary to share this information with me?
Well, you never asked.
If I recall correctly, you were also tight-lipped during questioning this morning. Are you staying quiet for your sister's sake?
The witness just lost her father. You can hardly expect her to recall every detail as relevant to the case.
Which raises a more concerning question. How did you extract this information?
Who knows? Maybe I just have a way with people.
Regardless, I suppose you have a point. I'll give the witness the benefit of the doubt. In any case, Miriam, please testify to the court about how you found out about Beatrice's disinheritance.
Yes, of course. One day, we all woke up and discovered that Beatrice had fled from our home. She left a note for us, and in it she renounced her name and denounced my father. My father later called me and my sister into his study. He told us that he'd completely disowned Beatrice and removed any claim she had to the Frager estate. It was probably a threat to us in case we ever chose to go down the same path she did. He wanted to make an example out of her. This all happened 5 years ago.
And are you sure this all happened 5 years ago?
Yes, even now I can remember everything clearly.
I see.
Her speech is getting slower. Is she deep in thought?
Nightgrave seems extremely concerned for some reason. And Leif was there with you at this meeting?
Yes, she was.
However, Leif couldn't have possibly been there. Her words are getting more slurred. You also notice that her balance is slightly swaying. Oh.
Hey, are you okay?
Of course Oh dear.
What?
By the skilled lord, is that blood?
Blood?
Bailiff, find anyone capable of casting healing magic. Escort them to the courtroom immediately.
After some scrambling, a couple of healers are able to help Nightgrave stabilize the prosecutor. In all the chaos, you caught a glimpse of her. There were deep wounds and blood on several parts of her body. She must have used some kind of illusion to hide them, but her disguise has completely dissipated now. Before Steelwind is taken out of the courtroom, you catch her whispering something into Nightgrave's ear. You see a look of confusion from him, but he nods and makes his way to the witness stand. But not before passing a message on to the bailiff, who seems equally confused. Just what the hell is going on?
Mr. Nightgrave, explain yourself. What is going on? Why was Miss Steelwind so gravely injured?
I'm sorry, but I wasn't actually here as Miss Steelwind's aide. I was here as her healer.
Her healer?
The truth is, Miss Steelwind was violently attacked at noon today. She was in critical condition, but she insisted on prosecuting the case anyway. I owed her a favor, and she asked me to channel my necromancy to keep her wounds closed during the trial.
Scaled Lord, why didn't she just recuse herself?
She must have known. If anyone else tried to prosecute Beatrice, you would have handily won the trial. Nevertheless, she showed up to prosecute because no one else would, and she did it all despite the risk to her life. It almost makes you respect her a little. Almost.
Anyway, is there any need to prolong this trial, Your Honor?
What?
Even you must acknowledge how weak the case against my client is. In addition to that, Miriam's testimony shows that my client had nothing to gain from her father's death.
Miss Tamora, Miss Steelwind has been gravely injured, and you're still only concerned about...
The only thing I'm concerned about is seeking justice for my client.
Even so, we cannot move forward until we find another prosecutor.
And how long do you think that will take, Your Honor? It's almost been 12 hours since the murder took place. That gives us, 36 hours? After that, every magical trace of the crime scene will fully disappear.
But there might be someone.
If Steelwind had simply allowed another prosecutor to work this case, we wouldn't be in this situation. She took a risk, and now she has to pay the price. Would you agree, Your Honor?
Yeah.
Not exactly proud of winning this way, but this is what it takes to win, and you won't let an opportunity like this pass you by. The judge is clearly unhappy with this turn of events, but it's out of his hands now.
Well, due to today's unprecedented events, I suppose I have no choice. There aren't any prosecutors available to immediately take Miss Steelwind's place. We'll take a brief recess. After that, I'll deliver my verdict.
Objection!
Whoa, whoa! Plot twist. Hello. Your Honor, I'm afraid you can't pass a verdict just yet.
Mr. Cuthbert?
Cuthbert? What the hell are you doing?
I don't know. But what I do know is that there was a massive contradiction in Miriam Frager's testimony. But it looks like things aren't going to be as simple as you expected. Oh yeah, okay, yeah, we'll save. I guess we'll start up there for a new episode. The night before. Oh, I feel so out of place here. Despite your clear hatred for the nobility, you found yourself at a party filled with aristocrats. You hardly recognize anyone, but many of the people here clearly recognize you. You're used to receiving dirty looks from the upper class, but you can literally feel everyone's disdain for you.
Why are you in the corner by yourself?
I can't believe I let you talk me into coming here. For reasons unknown, you lose your train of thought.
I've been wanting to wear this dress for a while now. What do you think? What's wrong?
You suddenly feel extremely flustered. It's difficult to make eye contact with her.
Oh, I see. Are you enchanted by my beauty? Come on, say something.
Ever since that night in Oranax, you felt like something has been off between you two.
Am I interrupting something?
Miss Tamora?
I wanted to check in on you two before we went to meet with Lord Frager.
You spot a woman silently following behind her. Is she the client that Miss Tamora is representing? You're pretty sure this is your first time meeting her, but she still looks familiar for some reason. Hi, I'm Tyrion Cuthbert. I'm Miss Tamora's, ward. You extend out your hand to shake hers. She has an aristocratic air to her, so you hope you're not being too informal. Instead of taking your hand, she claps her hands together and takes a deep breath. What?
Ah, sorry. I didn't mean to do that. It's a bit of a habit of mine.
Oh. Nevertheless, she finally shakes your hand.
I've heard so much about you, Mr. Cuthbert. My name is Beatrice.
You're not sure about the details, but your mentor appears to be brokering a deal between Beatrice and William Frager. William Frager is the ruling Lord of House Frager, so you're a little curious about what kind of deal he'd be involved in. But you've learned not to pry into your mentor's business.
Anyways, we'll probably be gone for a while. Can I trust you two not to cause trouble? You're in a manor filled with the highest members of the nobility. You might meet some familiar yet unfriendly faces.
Apologies for that. My dog was incredibly excited that my daughters were home. I can't remember if I'd read this line.
You might meet some familiar yet unfriendly faces.
We'll keep a low profile, Miss Tamora.
Please do.
So why were you so insistent on accompanying Miss Tamora to the Lord's ball?
That's,
You know you can tell me anything, right?
I guess everything that happened in Oranax made me think about things. I don't really know anything about my past or where I came from. I didn't want to think about it because of my dad and mom, but...
You wanted to find out who your biological parents are?
I do. But I don't know now. Being here is starting to make me feel weird. Still with my mom, and looking for my birth parents feels wrong somehow.
I don't think that's true.
Really?
Miss Tamora adopted me when I was a child and she gave me a purpose in life. But I still keep my childhood memories of my mother close to me. Miss Tamora and my mother are both important to me. I don't think it's disrespectful to find out more about yourself, and I'm sure your mother will understand.
You think so?
Of course. And I'm also sure of another thing. If I'm with you, I doubt any of the nobles here will want to speak with you.
Yeah, I didn't want to be rude, but...
Don't worry, I can find something to fill the time.
You're just going to play chess alone, aren't you?
Maybe?
You really need to learn to talk to other people. Make some new friends or something.
I don't need more friends. I usually want to spend most of my time with you anyway.
Anyway, I'm going to try and talk to some people.
Yeah, I'll see you later. Celeste leaves to mingle with some of the other partygoers. You find yourself with very little to do, and you doubt anyone would want to engage in small talk with the likes of you. Your hand instinctively goes to your satchel. It contains your foldable chessboard. Well, it's not as if I have anything better to do. I should try and find an empty table to play on.
Each table has a centerpiece of flowers on it. Most of the seats at the tables are filled. It doesn't look like you'll be able to play here. Several gold-tinted chandeliers hang from the ceiling of the ballroom. They look fancy enough to be worth a small fortune. It irks you a little how much wealth Lord Frege must be hoarding to afford all of this. Okay, what about... we go to the hallway. This place looks pretty quiet. There aren't any tables anywhere. Well, I could play on the floor. Oh, hello. What the... While walking through the hallways, you suddenly find yourself face to face with a large wolf. Immediately upon seeing you, the wolf quickly gallops away. Did someone leave a door open? You think about telling someone, but you remember that the manor is full of nobles. You're sure a servant will spot it eventually, and it's not as if anyone will believe you anyway. But it'd probably be best to find somewhere else to play. There are several jewels mounted on the wall, and they all look equidistant from each other. You already knew that House Frege is wealthy, but embedding jewels into the walls make the place look pretty tacky. They even have gold-tinted chandeliers in the hallways. It's ridiculous when you really think about it. We could go to the gallery. Aha, a certain sword. You look further around the manor and find a room with several displays. It looks like a gallery of some sort, but it's slightly out of place here. There are a few nobles in the room, and they're all silently appreciating the exhibits. Perhaps Lord Frege played a museum to create some historical displays for the Lord's Ball. I don't know who this is, so we'll voice them neutrally. Now, there's a face I haven't seen before. Oh, who's this? As you take a closer look at one of the exhibits, an old man approaches you. Is that a monkey on his back?
Hello, my name's Harold Haraldson. I'm the curator of this collection.
Harold Haraldson? Is that a pseudonym or something?
No?
I see. Wait, he's a museum curator? He must be extremely knowledgeable about Wivengard's history. You wonder. Would you happen to know anything about the ancient dragons?
Ah, like the Scaled Lord Rathalion. There are many pieces in this gallery. Some of them were items that were wielded by the 7 heroes of Wivengard. Legends say that some of these items were directly enchanted by Rathalion himself.
Enchanted by Rathalion? Would that mean that they also don't follow the rules of magic? Perhaps you should examine these items more closely. Alright, we can start with that. It's a pair of metallic armbands. There are several magical runes carved onto them.
Yeah, those are the armbands of intellect. They were actually created by a member of House Frege many centuries ago.
Centuries? That would make these armbands one of the first creations of artificery.
Yeah, that's correct. Legends say that whoever wore these armbands would be granted unparalleled levels of intellect. Many believe that House Frege created these to aid them in their study of magic.
Interesting. What about this picture? It's a painting of some sort of scientist.
Yeah, that man is Dr. Luke Kupfer. He was an alchemist and inventor from one of the branch families. He is well known for his studies into imbuing intelligence into automatons.
Intelligent automatons? Would that make them similar to arcane constructs?
Yes, actually, I wouldn't be surprised if Lord von Sanctus used Dr. Kupfer's research to create those constructs.
So in essence, von Sanctus is taking credit for someone else's work. We'll get to the sword last. It's a painting of a researcher.
Yeah, that is Professor Matt Furland. He was a professor of some renown. He was a researcher of combinatorial magic theory.
What's that?
It's the study of how different types of magic interact with each other. He famously ran an experiment on what would happen if 2 anti-magic fields overlapped each other.
Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. What were the results of the experiment?
Well, they had mages enter the space where the 2 fields overlapped. It turns out that those mages were able to use their magic in that space.
Wait, how would that be possible? They would have had 2 anti-magic fields affecting them.
When the 2 fields overlapped, they cancel each other out. I've heard that is akin to multiplying 2 negative numbers together.
Oh, what about this? It's a pair of golden earrings. There are small jewels embedded into each of them.
Those are the earrings of vitality. It is said that the Scaled Lord imbued a portion of his immortality into these. Legends say that whoever wore them would have their lifespan increased tenfold.
The Scaled Lord could do things like that?
Yeah, of course. He is the Scaled Lord, after all.
Earrings of Vitality, okay. Are there any spells that can create a similar effect to these earrings?
Oh, not that I know of. A spell like that would probably fall under the school of necromancy. And I'm sure you know how much the kingdom scrutinizes that type of magic.
Oh, look at that angry monkey. Okay, what about the sword then? It's a crimson red short sword. If that's a short sword, I don't know what a great sword would look like, but okay, we'll run with that.
Yeah, that's the sword of spell eating. Legends say that it has the power to protect its wielder from any kind of magic.
So it's like an anti-magic field?
In a way, yes, but it has less than heroic origins, I'm afraid. It's said that this sword was created through a blood pact between a mage and a demon.
A demon?
Legends say that some demons had the power to absorb and nullify magic. Demon must have imbued some of that power into this sword. Or at least, that's what the legends say.
Is it safe to put something like this on display? What if the legends are true?
Oh, don't worry, these displays are fortified with several abjuration spells. I'd bet even Lord Steelwind would have trouble getting into this.
Haraldson's security, okay. We can talk to him. So what is a historian doing at the Lord's Ball, Mr. Haraldson?
Harold?
Right, Harold.
Anyway, Lord Freyr invites my museum to set up some displays here every year.
He must think it adds a semblance of culture, the fool. You own a museum?
Yes, it's the Haraldson Hall of History, located in the city of Homherith.
That's a mouthful.
Unfortunately, I don't think his guests appreciate the historical significance of these items. Honestly, I think you're the only person in years who's taken a meaningful interest in them.
Sorry, but I really have to ask. Is that a monkey riding on your back?
Yes, this is my familiar, Eugene.
Your familiar?
Yes, a familiar is a creature that a mage has formed a magical bond with. With that bond, our souls are forever connected. I can communicate with him telepathically. I can even cast my spells through him if I wish to.
Really? I never knew a spell like that existed.
It's quite rare. Very few mages take the time to learn how to cast it.
Familial bond. Well, we can read this. Duration indefinite. The caster forms a magical, unbreakable bond with a target creature, connecting them to the caster's magic. While this bond exists, the caster can telepathically communicate with the target over any distance. The caster can also choose to see through the target's eyes as long as they concentrate. And lastly, the caster can also cast spells from the location of the target creature instead of their own location. Once this bond is formed, neither the caster nor the target can form bonds with any other creature. The bond can only be broken in death. Okay, what's the betting the monkey killed the banker? Controlled by this guy. I mean, it's possible. It's a very early guess, though.
Eugene helps me with my day-to-day. These old bones aren't as spry as they used to be, after all.
He's got a magical helper monkey. Interesting. Harold.
Harold.
Yes, as a historian, do you have a lot of knowledge about the ancient dragons?
The answer to that question is somewhat complicated.
What do you mean?
Well, unfortunately, a lot of historical texts in my collection have been altered or even outright destroyed by the Church of Bahamut. Because of that, it's quite difficult to separate myths from actual historical accounts.
Right, I remember encountering a similar problem at the Imperial Academy.
Ah, you must be quite dedicated to your studies.
They let this simpleton into the Imperial Academy? Rude, but you suppose that can't be helped.
I had to fight the church for a long time before I could even display dragon bones in my museum.
In the history of the ancient dragons, was there any instance of them granting powers to humans?
Well, of course. I mean, that's the entire premise behind the 7 heroes of Wivengard.
Does this idiot not even know about that? Right, but was there anything before that? Did they ever grant supernatural abilities that didn't follow the rules of arcane magic?
Granting supernatural abilities, you say? That sounds more like something demonic in nature, rather than draconic.
Demonic?
Yeah, much like the ancient dragons, demons are the stuff of myths. There are many stories of people selling their souls to them for untold power.
Selling their souls? You recall the note that your mother left for you before she was executed. Use my eyes, peer beyond the divine gate as I once did. She told you to use her eyes. Did your mother make a deal with a demon to give you the Eye of Horus?
Is something wrong?
This simpleton is far too superstitious. No, nothing's wrong.
a bit too much to take in, but you might just be overthinking this. There haven't been any recorded sightings of demons in recent history. There are only second-hand stories and superstitions. The Eye of Horus can't possibly be demonic, can it? You hope Celeste's investigation is going better than yours.
How dare you insinuate that I engaged in an adulterous relationship? That's not what I... Enough! If you try to speak with me again, I'll have the King's Guard throw you out.
Oh, this isn't working. I don't think asking them like that will be very effective. What? Did you expect anyone here to be truthful with you? You're essentially asking them if they cheat on their spouses.
Have you been spying on me?
Not intentionally, I was just surprised to see you here of all places. Right, I guess that makes sense. You're not party crashing, are you?
Of course not, I came here with Ruby and Tyrion.
That honestly raises more questions than answers, but I'll take your word for it. Anyway, you're looking for your birth parents, aren't you?
Was I being that obvious?
It's the only reason I could think of. Why else would you be trying to speak with members of the nobility? I don't know if it's any of my business, but think hard about whether this is what you truly want. Getting entangled in the aristocracy will only bring you misery. I've read your file. You have everything you could ever want. You have your mother and your friends. You even have a lover.
What?
And you're in a relationship with Mr. Cuthbert, are you not?
No, Tyrion's not my...
Really? The way you two behave around one another, I just assumed. It's pretty obvious you have feelings for him.
What? How obvious?
Did he seriously not notice? I think someone with his deductive reasoning skills would easily see through you.
Oh yeah? What about you and Asta?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Come on, I was there at Von Sanctus Manor. It's so obvious you like him.
Please, you're grossly exaggerating things. He may be my fiancé, but I only have the utmost respect for him.
And what if I told you he was standing right behind you?
Do you honestly think I'd fall for something like that?
What are you falling for?
Ah! Your Highness.
What? Who's this?
Oh, hello, Lady Steelwind.
Your Highness, please don't run ahead like that.
What was that about? Your conversation with Harold was definitely interesting, but you still find yourself with very few leads. Be it dragons or demons, the origins of the Eye of Horus still remain a mystery. You find yourself returning to the ballroom and you spot Celeste in the corner with some other people. Is she with Asta and Steelwind?
Hey Asta, what do you think of Steelwind's dress?
It suits you very well, Miss Steelwind. You look lovely.
Gross.
As you approach the group, you're stopped by a knight from the King's Guard. He stares you down. What?
Reperio Arcanum.
That was the incantation for detect magic. The knight stares you up and down. Celeste hasn't cast any spells on you lately, so he shouldn't be able to see any traces of magic.
Oh, Mr. Cuthbert. What was that all about?
Oh, sorry, what was that all about?
My apologies. They were making sure you weren't disguising yourself with an illusion.
The King's Guard are charged with keeping us safe. They must take every caution to protect us.
Oh? And who might you be?
Do not speak so familiarly with me, peasant.
Alaric, do not speak to him like that.
Why shouldn't I speak to him as I please? I am Prince Alaric de Wivengard the Sixth. I will not demote myself by showing courtesy to a commoner.
Doesn't he mean demean? Occupation, Prince.
I am terribly sorry about him, Mr. Cuthbert.
It's fine. Anyway, weren't you supposed to be investigating your birth parents? Leave the poor woman alone.
She started it.
Right.
I am actually quite surprised to see you both here. What brings you to the Lord's Ball, Mr. Cuthbert?
We were just accompanying Miss Tamora. Her client has business with Lord Frege.
Her client?
Ooh, hello.
Beatrice?
Ooh. Beatrice suddenly storms through the ballroom. She almost walks right past you before she hears Asta's voice. She looks furious. Did her discussion with Lord Frege go badly?
Oh, that voice. Is that you, Asta?
It really is you.
She called him Asta instead of Your Highness. Do they personally know each other?
I'm glad to see you again. It's been quite some time.
Is that really all you have to say?
It appears you two have much to talk about. I'll be taking my leave. Dear, everyone's unhappy. There's a bit of tension in the air. Celeste, we should probably get going too.
Yeah.
Wow, that was awkward. Yeah, I wonder how those two know each other. She's working with Miss Tamora, but she somehow knows Lord Frege and the Crown Prince. Just who is she? Well, you suppose it's none of your business. Anyway, how did your investigation go?
I got nothing. I think all I did was make a bunch of nobles mad.
Sorry, I know you really wanted answers. I'm sure something will come up.
You think so?
It might be a little irresponsible to give her hope like this. A noble abandoned her at a tavern in a run-down village. I doubt someone like that would make themselves easy to find.
Anyway, I don't want this night to be a total loss. Come on, dance with me.
What? That's not really something I...
Don't be like that. How often do we get to go to a party like this?
Before you have a chance to object, she grabs your hand and starts dragging you to the middle of the room. You receive a few dirty looks from the aristocrats nearby. Celeste, people are staring at us.
Who cares what they think? They're nobles. They're going to hate us no matter what we do.
She takes hold of your other hand and begins to pull you into a waltz. I don't even know how to dance. I've never done this before.
It's easy. Just stop being so awkward about it.
It's easy for her to say.
All right, just tell me what I need...
Oh, that's me. All right, just tell me what I need to do.
Well, first... you need to be closer to me.
With one swift motion, she pulls your body closer to hers. Huh?
Watch my movements and try to follow my lead.
You seem to know a lot about these things.
I had to do a lot of networking when I was a mercenary. Do you know how many times I had to charm a merchant into hiring me?
I see. You really don't know much about her, do you? You carefully watch the position of her feet and try to match her movements. After a while, you find yourself able to match her rhythm. You still accidentally step on her foot every few beats. She doesn't seem fazed by it. Either she's being polite or genuinely doesn't feel anything.
You're getting it, but don't focus so much on where your feet are. Just look at me.
What?
Come on, do it.
You try to break eye contact with her, but every time you do, you slowly find yourself being drawn back into her eyes. You feel so embarrassed that you're becoming lightheaded, and you find yourself perspiring more than usual. But at the same time, you don't have any urge to break away from her. There's a comforting warmth behind all the anxiety you're feeling.
Ah, there he is, the infamous Tyrion Cuthbert. Never turns away from challenging a noble, but can't dance a step to save his life.
Her expression doesn't betray a hint of it, but you still detect feelings of nervousness from her. Is she just as flustered as you are? You find yourself relaxing a bit more, and you're somehow able to continue matching her movements.
See, there you go. Although...
What is it?
You know the man is supposed to lead, right?
Well, maybe I don't subscribe to gender stereotypes.
Or maybe you just suck at this.
It's been a while since you felt this calm. There's always been something that you needed to prepare for. A client that needed saving, a culprit that needed catching. You're quite content with this one brief moment you're able to spend with her. You almost find yourself getting lost in the mood, until you spot a familiar face accompanied by a legion of knights. No, don't tell me. The knights storm their way towards where Beatrice and Asta are. Several of the attendees take notice. They all stop what they're doing to see what's going on.
Beatrice Frege, by the authority of the Wivengard Crown, you are under arrest.
Did he just say Beatrice Frege? Damn it was just getting good.
We should go see what's happening, shouldn't we?
Yeah, let's go.
You are completely out of line, Commander. I thought I told you to stand down.
Do you not recognize who you're speaking to? Let go of Lady Frege.
I can't really do that, Your Highness.
Asta.
Asta, what's going on?
It's Lord Frege. He was found murdered in his study. And these cretins think that Beatrice is behind it somehow.
Sorry, Your Highness, but my orders come straight from Steelwind.
Lady Steelwind sent you?
Beatrice takes a deep breath and claps her hands together.
I should go with them.
What? No.
My brother is right. They have no right to...
I don't want to cause friction between you and Arya. She's always been meticulous. I'm sure she's just being careful. I'm sure I'll be exonerated once they've thoroughly investigated what happened.
Okay. Only if that's what you truly want.
What? You can't just let them take her away.
Brother, she's correct. It is not our place to interfere with the lords of our kingdom.
But...
However,
Yes, Your Highness.
Miss Beatrice is blind. One of your knights will need to escort her.
She's what?
Did he just say that she's blind? Well, we knew that, didn't we, from the flash forward?
Anyways, we're gonna need to take you into a holding cell, lady. One of you should stay with her and guide her through.
Please, I may be disabled, but I'm not a child.
Beatrice walks past the knights and heads towards the foyer. It appears that she already knows the way out. Shouldn't you all be following her?
Right. Inquisition, move out.
You definitely didn't expect the knight to go like this. Just what is going on here? Yeah, okay, we'll save our progress. And we'll probably leave it there for today, I reckon. I still don't really have a clear idea of what's happening. Well, I mean, that's not quite true. I think the historian struck me as quite sus. Just the way he could telepathically control his monkey. Yeah, there may be something there. There may be something. Well, we'll see anyway. It'd be interesting to find out a bit more as the facts of the case. But hopefully you enjoyed this episode. If you did, if you could hit that thumbs up button, that'd be very much appreciated. As would leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts on the story so far, what we've seen. And, if you're watching this and haven't yet subscribed to the channel, it would be amazing if you could. So thanks very much, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.